Hello, everybody. Noah here. My favorite band, Coheed. They just announced the release date for their new album, Vaxis Act 3, The Father of Make Believe. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you've seen my Vaxis Act 2 review. Link will be somewhere up there. Pi Day in 2025. This is their new track, Searching for Tomorrow. They recently dropped Blindside Sunny. I do want to get a couple things out of the way before we really start getting into this new track and before we really look at my reaction to this because I haven't heard this one. So, generally, I love Coheed and Cambria. I love all of their early stuff. Pretty much everything from the second stage up to The Color Before the Sun is a banger. No matter which one you pick, you pretty much cannot go wrong front to back. Their back catalog as a whole, unmatched. Their new stuff, pretty much with Vaxis Act 1, Unheavenly Creatures, and when they started incorporating, or rather, Claude started incorporating more electronic elements, more distortion and auto-tune, vocode, vocal stuff, just all the different kinds of processing that he puts on his voice, which is an amazing voice. Love it or hate it. I know it's kind of divisive. You kind of love it or hate it, or you hate it and then start to learn to love it if you dig into the band enough. And for any of you that don't know, this is also kind of a side thing that I'll touch on in a future video. Wink, wink. The frontman, Claudio Sanchez, has a comic book series that goes along with each of the albums in the Coheed and Cambria catalog. With the exception of one, that being Color Before the Sun, that is the only non-conceptual album. So they leaned into it a little bit harder on Vaxis Act 2. The processing, especially on Josh Eppert's drums, they are way too heavy in some points for the song that's being played. Some of it sounds pretty cool, like the amount of reverb and the attack on the snare and stuff like that. But at other points, it just sounds so sample processed, which I personally have a distaste for. Josh is such an organic and just rock solid drummer that you don't need to do that to his drums. Like, you can put a flanger or something on that. Like, you can do some creative stuff panning, but like the amount of just inauthenticity. Let me say that word again correctly. Inauthenticity. Just the amount of inauthenticity that comes across in the production, like not in his playing at all. Let me get that clear. Josh is a fantastic player. He himself is not really a big fan of samples, so I'm not sure if his voice just wasn't being heard or if he was shot down, or I have no idea. But I do specifically remember on an Instagram live back when I actually opened Instagram, that I saw one of his live videos where he said, I always tell them not to put samples on my stuff. And this was before Unheavenly Creatures, actually. And so it was a surprise to me when Unheavenly Creatures came out, and the amount of just like straight like sample that I was hearing. I don't know the particulars of the mixing that went on in that, but to my ears they just seemed way too big. They seemed way too powerful to be like the drums that were recorded that way. And obviously, they have a much bigger budget than I do. They have a much bigger variety of tools to use than I do. They have much more experience under their belt in doing this sort of thing. Who the hell am I to say anything about how their album sounds? Uh, but it's like a booty hole. Everyone's got one. Point being, I like their early stuff. I don't like their later stuff. And also the guitars. There's a lot of effects on these guitars. There's a lot of like octave fuzz stuff. To me, it just sounds like butt. The guitar tones on their earlier albums were maybe a little bit lower gain. Uh, Maybe on like Good Apollo and In Keeping Secrets. But they had some higher gain stuff that sounded really nice too on Second Stage. And the tone on No World is like it's like kind of sloshy and watery, but it's still got like this nice like edge to it that kind of cuts. This has no edge. It's I don't particularly like fuzz on guitars. I more so tend to distortion or overdrive rather. Uh, so that's a personal preference. That's whoop de doo. The formula is getting pretty stale by now. There's like A B bridge and you know B out, and that's verse chorus stuff. But it's just kind of happening on every song now, and with Blindside Sunny, barely 2 minutes. Um, Not that I'm like, these guys are a prog band. They need to be writing like 10-minute epics all the time. No. Come on. What do you take me for? Um, anyway. Uh, but for me, I just cannot really get into their new stuff as much as I can get into their old stuff. And, as people may say, you can always listen to their older stuff. I know.
I do.
I don't really listen to the newer stuff as much. I did like uh the vibes on Vaxis 2 more than I did Vaxis 1. I will say that. Their newer album Vaxis 2 was better than Unheavenly Creatures, but it'll be interesting to see how they go into this new album. I mean, they've kind of already shown me a bit of what to expect here, but let's see if Searching for Tomorrow holds anything different. Um, yeah, just kind of fingers crossed it's something that I can get down with. So without further ado, I will shut up and I will listen. I'm intrigued. Um, it uses the same A B bridge B out structure. There was a section in the middle where the tone actually really worked for it, but then there was a section like a moment like right after it that didn't. Which it was like, okay, now it's a little too much. Overall, a little bit cleaner production. Definitely not as like heavy on the vocal effects. Still the classic harmonies that we all know and love from Claudio doing those. I will say, Epard's drumming is maybe getting a little bit predictable. I mean, I've been listening to these guys religiously, so I kind of get a sense of how Josh approaches a song, and by no means is what I'm saying about his playing a bad thing at all. I love his playing, and sometimes I've been able to predict it, and I'm like, yes, like we are on the same wavelength. That was exactly what I was thinking too. Didn't have any of those like aha kind of things with this song. Really cool, like linear fills, double kick, not like double pedal kick, but like doing doubles with one foot, like doing that kind of stuff. Classic sort of stuff there. Travis is kind of blending into the background a little more. There's a little bit more melodic stuff going on in these newer tracks. Obviously, Blindside Sunny, you get that like boom doo doo beep boom beep beep doo, which is kind of like a sort of in your face kind of lead. Which there's a couple like songs where it's like they just kind of like smack you in the face with a riff or a melody or something. Mostly thinking about Toys when I say that, because like that riff is like, I'm a riff and you will listen to me. You will hear my heavy syncopations that like jostle the whole track around. I mean, overall, I actually kind of like this track. It brings more of like the old school, like kind of blood pumping, energy to it. At certain points, it kind of reminded me of Turnstile, and Glow On, that album, particularly track Blackout. And when I compare songs to other tracks, I'm not saying like, oh, they ripped this off or something. It's just this is kind of what it reminds me of. This is what it kind of harkens to. This is what this is just what it reminds me of. It's nothing malicious or like, oh, they ripped it off or whatever. No. I can dig the track. I actually probably might throw it into a playlist here. I honestly don't have a whole lot of Coheed in my just like general playlists that I have around. If I were to rank this, I would probably give it a 7. So thank you very much for watching. If you dug this, feel free to like it. Feel free to subscribe. If you want to check out my Vaxxis 2 review, that will be somewhere up here-ish. Yeah, up in that corner there. And if you want to stay around for any of the future videos that I mentioned, one of them including this band, then yeah, feel free to subscribe and stick around. I will try to get those out here in a bit. I have the monologue recorded for one of them. I just need to shoot the video for it. And then in the process of doing that video, I got the idea for another video that you'll just have to stick around to see. So, yeah, feel free to subscribe, like the video, comment, engage, any sort of thing like that helps out. And I will let you go. Bye-bye.